is 6 o'clock. I want to call our city council special meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Roll call, Mayor Garrett,
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Cantor, Councilmember Jennings,
Present.
Councilmember Canes,
Here.
Councilmember Miller.
Here.
Madam Mayor, you have a quorum.
Thank you. I invite everyone that is in attendance and in the audience to say the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. That was the chair. Approval of the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Need a second? It's been moved and second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
I would like to pull something for further discussion.
So what would you like to pull? Anything else? Okay. Roll call, please. Or,
Council-
go ahead, I'm sorry.
Councilmember Jennings.
Need a second?
No,
Wait.
I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Well,
It needs to be amended to have the approval with taking out 6A. One second. Oh, I'm sorry. So you don't
Does it have
want,
to be pulled? Okay.
okay, so scratch that, sorry. It's just the approval of the agenda, sorry. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? You can not, we don't pull 6A because it's already on as an action agenda. Any other discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Councilmember Jennings,
yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Cantor,
Yes.
Councilmember Canes,
Yes.
Councilmember Miller,
Yes.
Mayor Garrett,
Yes,
motion carried.
thank you. And now we have come to the portion of the public comments for items that's on the agenda. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes. Anyone that wants to speak comes up to the microphone. You can just give your name. You don't have to give your address. Anyone want to speak that's in the audience or on Zoom? Anyone want to do public comment? Is there anyone that would like to do public comment on Zoom or in person? Okay, hearing none, we'll move right into our action requests. First up, for consideration of approval of special land use approval for 18411 West 12 Mile Life of God Outreach Sons Global Ministries.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Before you, you have a special land use, the final step is special land use approval for 18411 West 12 Mile, which is the Life of God Outreach Sons. Life of God Outreach Sons Global Ministries. Many of you are familiar with their work. They've been in the city of Lathrup Village for many years. They're quite active. They have been looking for a permanent home in the city, and they were able to acquire this particular property. I myself and the planners from Gibbles Webster have been working with them and their architect on their site plan and the process to go through this special land use approval. They did appear before the Planning Commission on April 19th of this year, where we had a public hearing. Ultimately, the Planning Commission did approve their submitted site plan and made a recommendation to this body for special land use approval. I do want to note that there are, the Planning Commission did place a few conditions on their approval, which are listed on page 2 and 3 of the special land use resolution that was on the
This one is on our desk.
yes, on your desk, yes. But those are just briefly for the audience at home. Those conditions are that the applicant's allowed to use this property at 18411 West 12 Mile as a place of worship with related uses to office, school, outreach center, etc. Their hours of operation shall be allowed from 7 a.m. through 11 p.m. Including Sunday as specified in section 4.7 of the zoning ordinance.
And I just to interrupt real quick, I'll note that that's the
That's the time frame in the city ordinance, specifically on their application, they said 9 to 5.
Right.
We did allow for what any other business would be allowed to operate time wise.
Okay.
Waste removal shall adhere to the city's ordinance, specifically 5.3 of the zoning ordinance, including the placement and construction of a dumpster enclosure. The applicant will strictly enforce, advise, and not allow any individuals visiting their premises to park on Guy Place or in any fire lane. The applicant shall obtain and provide the city of Lathrup Village a shared parking agreement with one or both of the adjacent property owners consistent with provisions in 5.13.5D of the city's zoning ordinance. The applicant shall maintain in good condition the existing barrier wall currently located on the property. This special land use resolution is based on the currently approved site plan dated April 19th, 2022. The site plan cannot be changed without approval of the planning commission. The site will be maintained and free from rubbish on a weekly basis. The site shall have installed and maintained appropriate wheel stops as identified in 5.13.9.I of the city's zoning ordinance. The business and the building in which the business is located shall at no time have any delinquency to the city of Lathrup Village for any required permits or licenses or for any tax assessments or fees levied on the business or premises. That the business and the building in which the business is located must at all times meet current building and safety codes and be in compliance with all ordinances of the city of Lathrup Village and the statutes of the state of Michigan. The property owner, in accordance with the city of Lathrup Village zoning ordinance, specifically agrees and acknowledges that there will not be any exterior sales or display of any product or merchandise whatsoever. The occupancy limit of the building shall be limited to the approved number of occupants set by the fire marshal. And the special land use resolution is only valid for the applicant, Life of God Outreach Sons Global Ministry. Any other entity or tenant desiring to continue the same use must apply for a new special land use permit to the city of Lathrup Village due to the city's concern with the health, safety, and welfare of its residents and adjacent businesses. There's only 2 more. Failure upon the part of the applicant or its successors, grantees, or signs for any condition of the special land use resolution shall constitute the commission of a nuisance per se under the provisions of the city of Lathrup Village zoning ordinance and under the provisions of the statutes of the state of Michigan as they currently exist or may subsequently be amended. Further, the failure upon the part of the applicant, its successors, grantees, or signs for any condition of the special land use resolution contained herein shall cause the city council of Lathrup Village to call a hearing within 14 days notice to the applicant, and at said hearing, the city council shall determine whether the applicant has violated any term of the special land use resolution, and if so, whether the special land use shall be revoked. So, the main conditions that the planning commission we're most concerned with were the cleanliness of the site and the parking on Guy Place and the shared parking agreement. The applicant is here and will be able to answer questions. They have already made progress on getting things moving for their dumpster, the required dumpster enclosure. They've been provided with some draft shared parking agreements that they may use to formalize their agreements with the neighboring properties, one of which is SOS, who I know they've been in close contact with and who have indicated an unwavering interest in providing that shared parking agreement to them. So if you have any questions for me or the applicant.
I have a question for the attorney. I'm wondering if there's a conflict of interest here, as the mayor is very active on the logo services on Facebook Live. She had recommended the appointment of the pastor's wife to our DDA board, and I did see that they were both at her campaign kickoff party. So I'm wondering if that is a possible conflict of interest.
I guess we'll ask Mayor, do you have any involvement or business stake in the Life of God Outreach Global Ministries? nonprofit organization?
I attend their services, and if that's the case, we should start doing a long list of everything that's a conflict with Councilwoman Miller also. So I don't.
Just asking the
And
question.
the answer is no. The answer is no.
If there's no potential financial gain from the approval, then I don't see any conflict of interest with her being a member of their church.
Okay. Some questions then. I know that the church has used the community room and the meeting place and our outdoor facilities for quite some time. And I was wondering what impact that's going to have on the community rentals that are in the budget.
Think that we have enough rental
I'm
interest.
sorry, what does that have to do with the approval of the zoning? That has to do with our budget. They have no control over what goes on with the budget.
It doesn't have any direct impact on this before the special land use process. I think it's a somewhat relevant question for that. If staff has an answer, they can answer it, but as it relates to the decision with respect to the special land use, I don't believe that there's
Okay.
any direct relevance, but it is, like I said, if staff has that information.
I don't think there is going to be a negative impact. We have a lot of interest in rental of the space that they use. So
Thank you.
Okay, now I'll ask my questions in the budget. Also, question about the taxes. That building currently brings in over $11,000 in taxes. I know that churches are exempt from taxes, but I also know this was purchased on a land contract, so not sure if when you purchase on a land contract, you don't actually own the building until it's paid off. So I'm just wondering how that's going to, how the taxes are going to be impacted.
Who are you directing the question to?
Who am I directing the question to?
Yes.
Probably to Pam, since she's our treasurer and does
Okay, just
taxes.
to acknowledge who you're talking to. Go ahead, Pam.
Well, as of right now, it's not going to impact us because it is on a land contract. Once it turns over, depending on what they, if they're using it for a church, if they're using it for business, there's going to be different things there.
Right,
So
but-
it will be depending on that time. I mean, right now, I don't think there's an impact at this time.
But if it's a church, it is tax exempt, right?
All right.
You did answer the question about, because the application said 9 to 5. So I was wondering about the Wednesday night services. Maximum number of vehicles which will be attracted to the property. I don't see an answer to that. How many, I've been up here on Sundays and the lot is sometimes pretty full. I'm just wondering how many church members you have.
Actually, Councilmember Miller, we have 2 churches here on Sundays. We have one in the community room and we have one up here in the meeting place. So we do have 2 churches, just because you're asking, about the capacity of the cars. And there are 2 here.
Oh, okay.
And the one downstairs is quite large.
Okay. All right. I've seen these services in both. So, okay.
Yep.
And then.
And excuse me, just
so-
to add, your concern about the parking, that is one of the concerns that the Planning Commission shared, which is why one of the requirements is that they obtain a shared parking agreement with the neighbor, at least one of the neighboring properties, to ensure they have sufficient parking for any overflow they may have.
Right, but there's only one neighboring property. I know they had mentioned using the SOS parking lot, which is not contiguous to the.
It is within 300 feet of the building, which meets with the parameters for shared parking agreements with the city's ordinance.
Okay, and do we have that shared?
No, they're in
Agreement?
process. That's a condition.
Okay,
And assuming approval by this body tonight, they will move forward with formalizing that shared parking agreement with their neighbors.
I have a question about the on-street parking. I can see that being an issue, and I'm just wondering how that is going to be addressed.
Again, that was another condition of the planning commission. They will be providing an affidavit saying that they will not be, allowing individuals to park there that are visiting their premises. they will also be informing individuals that they need to move their parked car to another location. So
If it, and I'll add here too, if it becomes an issue, just with any, as with any special land use business that's operating under a special land use agreement with the city, if there's a violation or a continued violation of one of the criteria that's outlined in this document that's in front of you, then the council can bring that applicant back before the council to address those violations, either giving them a reasonable opportunity to cure the defect or in an extreme situation, revoking their special land use approval, which would eliminate their opportunity or their ability to operate with that organization at that facility. So definitely something that, again, planning commission, as Susie indicated, the planning commission was aware of and concerned about that as well. I think one of the planning commissioners lives right behind the facility, so he was extra concerned with it. But yeah, definitely something that if it becomes a problem, I think we'll see them again. And council can address it appropriately at that time.
Well,
Or just-
this does say it should be addressed by the applicant prior to site plan approval. So
Which
What
it
are we
was, it
getting
was
around
addressed
that?
via the shared parking arrangement and then the condition that they not park on any no off-site parking, no.
no on-street parking. Okay. Okay, I also want to express my displeasure with receiving 28 pages of additional material today at 3 o'clock, only 3 hours before our meeting. I take it very seriously to be prepared for meetings and to make sure that I have gone through everything and studied everything. And luckily, I happened to check my email and saw it, but 28 pages, that's just not, it's irresponsible. It's not allowing us to be able to do a good job, so. I
Thank
just
you.
wanted to
Is there any
express my
other additional
displeasure.
questions? Do you have any questions?
I have one.
Okay.
I do see item number L on occupancy limit of the building. Do we know what the fire marshal approved? I don't see a number.
no, that's typically done after the any interior building improvements that may need to be done or may be planned. Fire marshal and the building official go through final inspections.
And
And they will determine that number.
will they, hopefully that'll match your membership.
It usually works out pretty well with the calculation of the parking standards and the occupancy load. Our planners have pretty good at narrowing that down and identifying based on the use what the occupancy that it would fit in the usable space. So,
Do we know what it's at right now?
well, it's 53 spaces, so I think it's probably a little over 100. Do you guys know?
What were we talking about, 120 or something? Weren't we talking at some point about 120 or did we reduce that?
Yeah.
Well, and right now, the office, the building is used primarily as office, so some of that space, I'm sure, will be reconfigured to accommodate their use.
Any other questions? Hearing none, roll call, please. I'm sorry, motion. Sorry. Because we didn't even get to that. Thank you.
I'll make a motion to approve the special land use for property at 18411 West 12 Mile Road.
Second.
It's been moved in second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mayor Pro Tem Cantor,
Yes.
Councilmember Canes,
Yes.
Councilmember Miller,
No, just because I don't feel that we had enough time to go over this properly.
Mayor Garrett,
Yes.
Councilmember Jennings,
Yes.
motion carried.
Thank you. And then I just want to take the liberty to say that I'm completely disappointed and offended by Councilwoman Miller because one thing, actually, yeah, it is because I've taken the class on parliamentary rules. So as I was saying, I'm offended by it because if you take your position seriously, as I do, most of the things that I do in my life is in the city of Lathrup Village. If that's the case, I need to remove myself from Panera's discussion because I eat there. I should not go to any of the shops in Lathrup Village because I buy there. I should not go to anything in Lathrup Village and purchase anything because there is a direct money give and take. I have supported logos because they have supported the city of Lathrup Village when no one else was showing up to volunteer. It was their group that came out to give out backpacks. It was their group that came out to give out food when our residents were sending me emails asking to get some food. So I'm highly offended that this is the one time that you would point out that they could possibly, me or this particular applicant could be getting some type of compensation from it, when we know for a fact that you, Councilwoman Miller, have in fact been someone that has gotten money or has gotten something from being on a council, being on a board, and knowing about something that was coming up. So I
What
would
was
say,
that,
and that would be the
Mayor?
houses that you sold when you were on the planning
And
commission,
there
knowing that the
was
city, that
nothing wrong
the
with
Michigan
that.
first was coming in there.
I'll provide
Integrity, it's about
documentation.
integrity.
I'll
It's
provide
about integrity, and that's all that I was gonna say. And we can go on to the next one. And that's the plan unit development for 2777 for Southfield Road for Panera. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
all.
you.
Thanks,
Congratulations.
congratulations.
Before we begin, there are individuals down there, so I'm just gonna collect them real quick and let them know that they have an option to watch in here.
Okay, thank you. It's all good.
All right.
So next one, the plan unit development, who is presenting that one?
Planning Commission has been very busy these last few months, as a matter of fact. And we have been working with representatives of Cernow Company and Panera Bread. And they, I'm gonna go back in time just a little bit for the benefit of our newer members. Back in 2019, the Planning Commission was approached by Cernow, and we were discussing mechanisms and how we may be able to accommodate Panera Bread's expansion and retention in the city of Lathrup Village. The result of those conversations led the city's planning commission to initiate a planned unit development ordinance, which would allow for deviations.
Yeah, so,
of-
and this is for the benefit of everybody, because this is actually the first time since its adoption that the city has considered and reviewed a plan unit development agreement. As Susie was indicating, a PUD is really, it's a development tool that's used to promote and provide flexibility in land development projects, structure construction, other things where normally would be limited or prohibited under the existing zoning ordinance. It does provide an opportunity for developers to present a development to a city, come to an agreement with the city as to certain modifications of the zoning that may be necessary within that development in exchange for some sort of a community benefit as a result of the project. So this, as I indicated, this is the first go around with it. So there was included kind of a flow chart outline of the process. If there's, I can go through that, or I can, if there's questions about it. I know it was provided to this afternoon shortly before the meeting. And I do apologize for that. That's my fault, the late submission of the documents. I thought tonight was just a budget study session. I wasn't aware that we had these action items on the agenda. So that's why I didn't get that information over to the city until this afternoon. So I'll take responsibility for that fault. But the PUD process, basically what the applicant has already done is they've gone, they've been before the planning commission 3 times now. First was for a request for qualification for the project, which they did receive. That's a non-binding blessing from the planning commission saying that we've reviewed your plan and we think it's going to fit within the PUD criteria. They then met multiple times with staff and consultants with their plans and different variations and got to the point where they had their final submission before the planning commission, which was at last month's planning commission meeting. Unfortunately, I wasn't there and the audio cut out or the video cut out, so I didn't get to see the end of it. But my understanding is that they received their approval from the planning commission with some conditions. And I'm going to rely on Bruce because he was the liaison for that. The next step of the process, which is, again, this is kind of a time sensitive, lengthy process, which is why this is moving along quickly. The next step of the process is for the city council to have a first review of the plan and then either give the go ahead for me to begin preparing the agreement, the development agreement with the developer, or if the council doesn't feel that it's fits within the PUD criteria, then they can end the process at this point. So that's just kind of a brief overview of where we've gotten to. In the future, should council direct me to prepare the development agreement, the next step would be that would take place in the next 30 to 45 days, and then it would come back before council for approval.
And one thing you might want to mention is the development agreement is actually a contract, which is a little bit different than other projects that get put in front of the council.
Correct. It is in its purest form. It's a contract between the developer and the city, a contract that can be amended in the future if there's changes, a contract that can be rescinded if there's violations. So there are, it's like I said, it's a unique development tool that up until 2019 we hadn't had in the city, and I think it's a valuable resource. It's a mechanism to get some developments that we probably wouldn't otherwise be able to accommodate.
Thank you.
We do have, Mayor, we do have representatives from both Surnow here, and then we also have a handful of representatives from Panera that are also on this call.
Thank you. Like to have a motion.
Do you
I'll
want
make
to make introduction of the project from the applicant, or we just kind of went over the process?
Yeah. Do you want it?
Well, we.
No.
Oh, go ahead.
Would
Maybe
you
you
like
like
to, do you want, Todd? Okay. Todd, I'm coming for you. Are you
Hello,
there, Todd?
everybody. Can you see me? Can you hear me? Am I on
Yes.
screen? Hi.
Yes, sir.
Awesome. Well, thank you, everybody, for getting together tonight and again, considering this. I wish I could have been there in person. It just was, it didn't work out with my schedule. I've been there to all the planning and zoning meetings, and it's been wonderful to work with the planning department on this so far. I'm an architect working with Panera, Todd Bundren, Mr. Dan Cook, the director of design for corporate is on the call, and then our Patrick Bennett, our civil engineer, is available, and then also the Surnow folks are there in the room. I will let you kind of guide me as to what you want, but the first thing I'll say is that we're very excited to stay in Lathrup Village. This community was one of the first when Panera expanded up into Michigan. This is one of the first locations they went to when they were known as the St. Louis Bread Company. You guys might remember that. So they're excited to be able to bring to you one of their newest, more advanced prototype buildings. There's only one other one in the country so far. You guys will be the second one to get this, and we're excited to be able to expand and bring a benefit to the community and continue to provide services that I think the community is very excited about having. We can walk through the project if you would like. We have some renderings that we can put up on the screen and a site plan. But at the end of the day, just as an intro, I just want to say that we're once again excited to be here and excited to be a continued asset and part of the community. So with that being said, I'll just ask, I don't want to waste anyone's time, but would you like us to walk through the project? Or do you have specific questions maybe to address to us? And we would be glad to answer those.
You're more than welcome to walk through the project.
Okay. Suze, do you want me to share my screen, or do you have those kind of that packet that we sent that has all the...
If you've got it readily there, I think it would be best if you can just, if you share your screen.
All right, let me, I think share screen. All right, make sure I hit the right screen. That's always embarrassing.
Do you have the power?
And
All
voila.
right, are we in
Thank you.
business?
Yes, we are, sir.
Awesome, awesome. Well, obviously, this is the correct package because this is the correct cover sheet. So we will move on. So we're right on the corner of Sunset and Southfield Road. There used to be a bank here. And the new building, the new prototype, the Panera, is going to be very similar located as the existing banks there, as some of you may or may not know. There's an In-N-Out available right off of Southfield. And then there's also an In-N-Out available off of Sunset. And those are the existing curb cuts, the existing way that you come into the property. As you come into the property, we have parking available. This would be the front of the Panera. And then on the side, we have the outdoor patio area and landscaped area next to that. There's multiple parking options. There's also a 2-lane drive-through that comes through here with a bypass lane on this side. The exciting part about this 2-lane drive-through is actually one is your traditional drive up, order at the menu board. This other one is what we call a rapid pickup lane. This is for customers who decide to take the option to order it on their phone or their mobile device, kind of like a Disney World at a fast pass. You can kind of go past somebody that's trying to figure out what Red Bull they want and skip around and get up here and grab your food. There's other options as far as rapid pickup if you want to order on your phone, to park, to go into the facility, grab your food and leave. We found a lot of customers, especially after the last couple of years of what we all went through, have found this rapid pickup to be a good way to get their food. So we're going to continue that in this particular prototype. I will say, although an important part of the operations of Panera, the drive-through in no way is the majority of the customer experience. I think, Dan, tell me if I'm wrong with a nod, but I think it's about 20% of the product that's sold out of a Panera comes through the drive-through. The majority of it is still from patrons coming inside, whether to pick up or to sit. There's a large seating area that customers are used to and that they want to continue to offer. I'll also bring to your attention, in working with the planning department and the city, we have developed a little bit of a plaza area up here in the northeast corner. There's going to be some park benches, bike racks, and some really nice landscaped area up here in the corner as an amenity and a benefit to the community. We're also upping our game as far as landscaping along the sidewalk, the existing sidewalk here, and we're going to be providing sidewalk lighting in order to really embellish and bring some attractiveness to this sidewalk in this area. I talked a little bit about the improved and embellished landscape around the building itself. We have our dumpster tucked around back here. This is going to be fully enclosed in a masonry, full height dumpster enclosure, and then we're having landscape around that. And then finally, I'll let you know that we're going to really improve a lot of the landscaping here on the west side, so that the visuals from El Dorado Street and the neighborhood that's adjacent to us is going to be blocked by the existing berm that's there, and then this large amount of landscape that we're providing. So in every way, we're trying to be a good neighbor from a site plan perspective, from a landscape perspective, a lighting perspective, and then try to make this as efficient a site as we can that's safe for the customers. Any questions about the site plan before I move on to the renderings? I think that is a no. So here is a artistic rendering, but this is actually what's, if you want to look it up, you can look at Baldwin, Missouri. Yes, ma'am.
You have a question?
Councilwoman Miller has a question.
I just wondered if you have a traffic flow example of what the traffic flow is going to look like, but you might get to that, so I can wait.
No, that's a great question. I'll address it right now. We have engaged a traffic engineer, and as part of our site plan that's going to happen after the PUD is approved, is my understanding, is that traffic study is being done as we speak, and will be submitted to the city. And we're committed to, we feel the design is in line with safety and is going to be a great one, but any suggestions that come out of that, we've committed to improving the site as necessary. So that is in the works, if that makes sense.
That's one of the conditions the planning commission put on the approval.
Mm-hmm. So
right, a traffic study, but I was just wondering, like, how many cars will it be around the drive-through till they're backed up out onto Sunset, or something like that, if that will be looked at. It's
That's
kind
a
of
great-
tight corner.
that's a great question. I know in the current ordinances that they want a minimum of 10 cars stacking, and I think we're showing 15. So we're beyond the ordinances, but even beyond that, and Dan, I know you could either chime in or not in approval, but I know that typically at a Panera that has a drive-through, the stacking that we're showing right here is pretty standard. We can never. There may be one day where, there's just a ton of people at some kind of an event there and they all come and we end up, getting a little further back. But in general, this is a very typical layout and there hasn't been any issues throughout the country when in the drive-through. I don't know, Dan, is that a true statement or am I saying something I shouldn't there?
No, you're spot on there. Typically, we see 2 to 3 cars stacked beyond the menu board itself, and that's exactly what we have here. The main menu board there at number 10 on your screen, and right behind that then would be the preview board to help speed service there, and then 2 cars beyond that. So this, to Todd's point, this is very typical of a Panera across the country of a similar area as Lathrup Village.
Right. Great question. But that traffic study, like we said, is going to take a look at that as well to bring some more confidence to.
Okay. Will there be a preferred entrance, exit, Southfield, off of Southfield Road, off of Sunset? What thought has been given to that?
So I can
go ahead. I'm sorry, Dan.
I can speak to that a little. So, I'm sure the residents would kind of dictate that, but I think both entrances work well for the site. If you do come in off of Southfield, you circulate all the way around the building to enter the drive-through lane or come all the way around the bypass. And then off of Sunset, I realize that's the lit intersection there at that corner. So folks will use that rear entrance there as an entrance, depending on how they're interacting with that lit intersection, to come straight down into the drive-through or around to the parking. But we also do provide that full bypass lane for full site circulation in that counterclockwise movement all the way around the building.
How do the numbers compare with what you currently have at the current site, the number of parking spaces? Because that's, very popular place in Lathrup Village.
That is a great question. I don't know if I have that information, or maybe Rob will know that. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I can chime in. Hi, Rob Crockmo with the Cernow Company. As far as the existing site is concerned, that's a multi-tenant center. So it's difficult to understand all of the customers going into Panera versus Sobel Eye Care or H&R Block. So it's not exactly apples to apples. Yeah.
I had a question. So pertaining to the parking, so I see you have the rapid pickup lane. So I'm curious, is there, say, okay, this is your second one, right, in the country, correct? So say someone makes a mistake and so now they're trapped in the rapid pickup lane when they meant to go to the just drive-through. Is there a way that you guys have figured that part out, just because it might back up into Sunset or things of that nature? Is there an actual person talking on the second screen to avoid that mishap?
So there is no second screen on the rapid pickup lane. That is purely essentially a bypass lane, if you will. If somebody does come into that lane and they meant to go in the drive-through lane, there's no curbing to the outside of the rapid pickup lane. That's just striping. So they'd be able to dive out and come all the way around through via that full bypass lane and circulate all the way around.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And just to clarify, we've done one other prototype like this building, but as far as the rapid pickup concept in drive-through, that has been beta tested for the last 2 years, I think, in multiple locations. In a reaction to the pandemic. So that's been studied quite a bit. But no, that's a great question. And yeah, that dive out lane there, the bailout lane, I think is the perfect solution for that.
And there is specific signage for each lane, and it's very well identified which one's the drive-through lane and which one's the rapid pickup lane.
But it's a great question. Okay, would you like me to move on to the pretty pictures?
Yes, please.
All right, so here is a view. We talked about the front, the main entry. The drive-through is around the corner, sneaks around the back. Here's that patio area we talked about. There's going to be a little more advanced landscaping back beyond that. I think this doesn't give it justice, but you can get the idea. There's a main tower that kind of creates this sense of entry. It kind of really defines where you come into the building. High quality materials. This is brick all around with an ephes here, a fluted ephes, high quality metal, storefront windows. So we've worked very closely with the planning department to make sure that, you know, we maximize the amount of very durable materials that you're going to get on this building. Signage, like I said, a very robust outside dining area, which everyone really enjoys. And then if you look here, let's sneak ahead in the evening time, and like I said, it's an artistic rendering, but you get the idea. During hours of operation, this is going to glow a little bit, as it's, you know, it's focused away from the residents behind, but it really is going to give this sense of presence and this sense of liveliness on that corner that's missing right now, I would suggest. And then also there's outside festoon / cafe lighting to make this an outside venue that people want to be at in the evening time. And a lot of this glazing you can see really kind of opens it up to that inside outside feel that's very popular now. So it's going to feel very roomy, very open, very spacious. If you look from the other side, here's that drive up window. Once again, we've had the same kind of a artistic feeling that you get at the entry. The same thing here at the drive-through. This we're just trying to show the openness to this thing. A lot of glazing, a lot of brick, very attractive materials on the building. Here's the same shot at night. Once again, it's well lit during business hours. Obviously, at certain points, it's going to dim down a little bit to not be too obtrusive to the community in the late hours. Here's kind of a zoomed up view, a little bit of the entry, double entry with a vestibule, so it's easy to get in, easy to get out. There's also another entry exit right here. And what you'll see in a second is through that door really is the rapid pickup as well. So if you want to kind of sneak in, grab your food and sneak out, this would be the door for you. It's also another means of egress for life safety. You can kind of see that patio a little better. It's stamped concrete. It's a very attractive place to be when you have nice weather. Let's see. There's the same shot at night. So here's kind of a shot of inside the cafe. This is what you're going to be greeted with when you first walk in. We have digital menu boards. A lot of the bakery products are here. You're going to get that same feeling when you walk in a Panera, where you get the smells of the breads, you know, the fresh cooking. You'll see in a second, there's areas where you can go up to little screens and order if you'd like, or you could walk up and be greeted by one of the representatives that work at Panera. And then there's that idea of seating that we're still keeping in the cafe. And there's going to be many different options of seating. There's a community table that's going to be in here. There's booths with chairs. There's 2 tops. There's 3 tops. There's just a large, all different kinds of seating options. Here's some of the signage that's going to be inside. Self-serve coffee and beverages are going to be over here. But the idea is that we're keeping that community feel that everyone's gotten so accustomed to with Panera in this particular building. And then here you got a shot. That's that door right off the patio. There's kind of your rapid pickup spot. You could come in, grab your food and sneak out. Or when you first come in, here's the kiosks that you can use if you'd like to make your order and kind of divert around from ordering in person. But you can see a lot of the materials are highest quality. It's going to be a really beautiful space and continue to be a benefit once again to the community. So I think that might be it. Yeah. Any questions on those or anything you'd like to see again? We're really proud of this and we're really excited to bring this, I think, to the community. I think it's going to be a great addition and a great development. And I think it's perfect on that spot. So Any further questions or anything I can help you out with?
Yes, Councilman Jennings has a question.
So I did have a question. So I don't know if, I'm pretty sure we're gonna get to the conditions that the planning commission laid out. But I was curious if, just because, you know, the Panera is community-based, I was looking at the renderings on the inside, if there was a way that you could possibly, or Panera would be interested in sharing the history of Panera in Lathrup Village, being that it's the second, it was the second one. If you could just maybe like make a tribute and let people know they're actually in Lathrup Village on the inside, just because, you know, sometimes you don't know, think you're in Southfield and you're actually in Lathrup Village. And just a tribute of how Panera and Lathrup Village connects, if that could be something we could consider.
We can certainly take that back to the entire design team and take it in advisement for that. I know in the very first one, we did a bit of a commemorative plaque in the vestibule. So there's potential for it to certainly make this one a better part or a bigger part of Lathrup.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Great question.
Okay. Do you have any street side signage going in?
So there is one monument sign that is out. It's the existing bank monument sign that we are going to refinish and update with the typical Panera piece. And then we also have site directional signage to help direct folks appropriately around to the drive-through and rapid pickup lane entrances.
Any other questions? Hearing none. That's all it's just about to do.
I'll make a motion to direct the city attorney to prepare the development contract with the appropriate parties associated with the Panera Bread planned unit development.
Need a
Second.
Second. Good. It's been moved in second. Is there any further discussion?
Will the ownership of the building remain with Cernow or with Panera?
Yes, so stay with Serta. Is there any other questions? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Councilmember
Oh,
Kennedy.
sorry.
So I did have, I would like to talk a little bit more about the community benefit aspect of the PUD program. I know there was a little bit a talk about the bike rack in it's the northeast corner of the parcel, bike rack and some sidewalk lighting. I just want to get some feedback from council, what if they feel that that's adequate, sufficient, if they're looking for maybe some additional community benefit, anything else that just before, so I have a little better understanding of what we're looking for.
Contract.
Absolutely, yeah, to put in that development agreement. And I'll give some examples. So with, I'll use the street lighting as a example. Under the village center, when the city adopted the revised zoning ordinance and created the village center zoning district, one of the requirements that they put in for all redevelopments or new developments was that they have street sidewalk lighting. Given that this is the first redevelopment in the village center since 2010, this will be the first one. It may look a little strange having just one parcel with street sidewalk lighting. So one of my other communities, one of the things that we had done was either have the applicant make that improvement for additional parcels, and it would work out conveniently here because the common property owner, sorry. But you know, something like that might be a potential where the city could say, you know, we like the idea. We think if you did sidewalk lighting on both sides of Southfield for that whole block, or those two blocks, that would be a sufficient community benefit. You know, we're trying to promote a walkable community, and lighting, illuminating the sidewalks at night. It's definitely an improvement for public health, safety, and welfare. So that would be an example. So I just wanted to get some feedback, and if there was any input from council with respect to that, or if they're satisfied with what has been presented.
And would that be included in their final proposal?
Correct, that would be part, so the next, in the process on the flow chart, the next step would be for myself and the development team to put down on paper the development agreement, exactly the concessions that with respect to the zoning ordinance and the amendments that the city is going to allow, and then what in return the city is going to receive for those accommodations. So that, again, just going with that example, that would be potentially included in that agreement. So, and anything else too, if there's direction that council has specific things. I mean, I took notes on Jalen's request for the kind of the commemorative historical plaque inside, associating the history of Panera with Lathrup Village and vice versa. So if there's anything else, this would be the time that would be appropriate to convey that to me.
I guess let me ask the three city administrators, if you have any thoughts on that.
You know, we've talked about it previously. I think I've probably mentioned it to Sam and Rob and Steve, at least in passing once. I mean, we've got that bus stop that's right there. We are going to be doing some improvements to Southfield Road in the next year. So I think that would be a nice upgrade to that. We've also discussed, I mean, there's a history of bicycling and contributes to bicycling with Surnow, and to carry along with a theme that was established many years ago. Perhaps they may want to do a bike repair kiosk that could be tied into the city's bike route and wayfinding signage. We have a repair kiosk over repair station over here, and we have one in Golden Gate. We don't have one in this quadrant. Perhaps that would be something that would be fitting.
Yeah, this community benefit is not necessarily site specific, so it's not something that has to appear on that Panera site. It could be, in the park or somewhere else within the city that was a condition.
That would be nice to ask residents what they would like to see, since it will impact residents.
I don't think, again, I got cut off at the planning commission meeting. I don't know that there was anybody for the public hearing though that attended, but if there's feedback or something from residents, they can submit it to the city and that can get conveyed to me. But like I said, this is just want to give council that opportunity.
Yeah, I had brought up in the planning commission meeting, the installation of some public art. And the follow-up email that was in the packet, they were concerned about actually choosing a specific art because that would be reflective, it would fall on them. But I know one thing that they had said they were willing to do is set up the installation, just not pick the actual art.
Good safe art is the kids art that they do at school. You can highlight some of the residents' children's art. It's usually not that kind of virtual.
Yeah, so that was one thing we had in there, in addition to the lighting along South Road and the picnic area on the northeast corner. But you're right, I mean, it might look weird, maybe having it go for the lighting go for the entire block. I don't know if that would be that much of an additional expense, but it would definitely make it look.
Yeah, and two, with the potential, again, I just use that as an example, and now that we're talking about, with the potential redevelopment of Southfield Road, it might not make sense to install street lighting rather than torn down.
Well, that's sidewalk lighting.
So sidewalks, sidewalk,
That's what I
not
meant,
street lighting, sidewalk lighting. What we did in a different communities, we have a sidewalk fund that developers contributed to, so that when that municipality did their sidewalk project, they had the funds already available from the various PUDs that they had done.
Yeah. So the suggestions also go to it's not similar to what we have.
Smart.
Smart. I was
Took
playing.
me a
All I
second
could think of
there.
is in the past. That's
I
smart.
actually know what that was.
Yeah.
So
At my age. But especially given it's right across the street from their property that they will hopefully redevelop. So tie into that. So that might be an option as well, depending on what council feels.
I'm also thinking about, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh,
I was thinking about your track hawk lighting, or
Oh, the hawk lighting?
Yeah, hawk lighting. Would it be possible for them to contribute to that or
That'd be a big ask. I would,
just to connect because residents live on both sides?
right, I think that, I mean, I would love to say, yes, I think that might be too big for what we're going for. And I would, I think I'd prefer to use, the connections within the business community overall to push for that hawk signal rather than ask one particular business, though they may be a very strong business and a very important business for the city. I think that that's an ask for the entire business district to be making to the road commission.
Well, quite frankly, all of these asks should be coming from the entire district. So, I mean, when you think about it, lighting would be unfair for just Panera to put in all the lighting, but okay.
And again, not necessarily saying that they have to complete the entire project, but a contribution towards that, towards that project would be.
I don't know if I can add here. Is this a proper time?
go ahead.
Okay. That obviously this has been a process going on for a long time in terms of the design that we're coming to you with. And with the great help of, the planning commission and, other members of the city and community input, we're really trying to show a plan that has a lot of community benefits and amenities built into it already. So a lot of the things that we're thinking of adding to the community, where we started and where we are now, those have been added onto the plan. The benches in the corner, the lights along the street, a bigger patio on the side is a good community benefit and that place for meetings. So I think everybody that's been part of the process has really put everything that we can into the site to showcase really what we want to keep in Lathrup Village and bring to Lathrup Village. So I just want to remind you of that. This isn't the first plan that, oh, let's add this, add that. That's been happening for quite some time onto this plan here.
Any further?
Yeah, how does this fit into the master plan and the walkability and all that?
So it
Safety
is
issues.
addressed in the planners correspondence. That this does not fit in with the master plan, and it does not, the concept of a drive-through, that's the biggest reason why they've gone through this PUD process, because drive-throughs are not permitted in the village center. And it doesn't coincide with the city's master plan in terms of creating a walkable downtown, building set right up on the street front, a zero setback. So it is a deviation from those standards. And again, that's why, as Rob indicated, they have incorporated a lot of community benefit already in the plan, but I don't think it's an unreasonable ask if council wanted to, for a little bit more community benefit, because it is a big deviation from the master plan. And it is a big, obviously Panera is an important tenant to the community and an important business here to our residents, but at the expense of our master plan and the village center concept. That's kind of the bargaining back and forth, and that's what the negotiation is about in terms of the contractual agreement with the developer.
Yeah, and in working with the planning commission, one of the things that we worked on together was mitigating the fact that it is a drive-through and the effect that it will have on the walkability. So the way they designed the flow of the traffic flow, for example, people typically would be walking across the drive-through lane because the parking isn't over there. It's on the other side of the building, other sides of the building. So there are things like that they worked on, or that we worked on to try to mitigate the fact that it is supposed to be a walkable district and that a drive-through would necessarily promote that.
Drive-through came before the planning commission a couple of years ago. Did that not pass? When they were talking about putting a drive-through at the current site?
No, that did not pass. There was, it may have actually, that,
I think it was discussed,
it
and
was
that's what was the
discussed.
impetus for the PUD process, to give them a mechanism for that type of a development. But then I think the bank became available, and Rob might have more information on that. And that
I don't recall.
at one point we
drive-through
had talked
being
about adding a
proposed.
drive-in or a drive-through, not a
At the
drive-in.
current
That would be
site.
cool, a drive-in. but a drive-through to the existing building.
I can go up there.
Yeah.
I was part of that.
Somebody remembers, right?
Yeah. There he is.
I like to make,
Sam Cerno Company. We were originally approached by Panera when their lease was coming up in, I believe, at the end of 18, and then we got a small extension for 19. And one of the things that they had mentioned was that their overall model over the last 25 years was changing. And so, and that change, while, Panera's indicated that it's been more of an amenity, it's just been part of their overall successful model. So at the current site, the Oakland development site, where Civil Eye Care is, and SMK Staffing and a Rapid Refill we basically explored looking at converting that to drive. And even though it was not part of the ordinance, we had talked about a PUD. And kind of at the same time, the old Citizens Bank became available. And during the discussion of the existing site, it was brought up, I believe, by the Planning Commission that it would be a much better site if we were able to utilize the bank site, which we didn't own at the time. And so we were kind of, I couldn't promise that behind the scenes, we were trying to get that property under control as aggressively as we could. And there were a couple competing developers. And so we were actually able to utilize the bank site. But because I believe the bank had been vacant for a certain amount of time or some other ordinance issue, even though it had been used and set up as a drive-through, I think we lost the grandfathering, but we were still able to at least get a hold of the site. And so back in 2019, I believe in the summer, sometime in July, is when we got the ability for a PUD to go into Lathrup Village, which I believe was kind of the catalyst, I think, behind that was this whole process.
Thank you.
Hopefully that answers your
I was on planning commission in 2018, and I know there was discussion about they would leave if they couldn't have a
Yes.
drive-through situation. So then I wasn't reappointed in 2019. So I guess I just assumed that it had been approved. So thank you for the
Yeah,
history
of
of that.
And one other thing, I know that there's definitely a deviation from the master plan with this development. And, but I do want to say that I do think that in the report, there are a number of things that are, I would call, bonus points for the master plan. And so there's definitely deviations and there's definitely reasons why we would need a PUD, but just some of the things of, just redeveloping properties in the village center, protecting the business districts and keeping a business like Panera that's been here for, 25 years, enhancing lighting, trees, landscaping. There's lots of different reasons, job creation, et cetera. But the challenge, I think, in the beginning was, kind of the location of the building, et cetera. So
This is a much better site for sure.
Yeah, I didn't mean to shortchange the effort you guys have already put in.
no, it's just facts.
It
I'm
is,
just,
but
bringing
that
up
is-
the other side of the coin.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing when, when someone looks at this and says, okay, we have a master plan, and when most developments come in, the first document the city produces that we direct them towards is that master plan. So this is our vision for the future. And so, a development that doesn't necessarily align with that, but that's exactly what this process is for. That's why the city implemented it. I think it is an important development tool, and it does allow the city and the developer the flexibility that's needed to accomplish something like this. So I think it's definitely, I should have framed that a little bit better, but there definitely is a lot of work that's gone into making this address some of those initial shock values when you look at it.
And the bank could be, over the years, the bank was oftentimes a very busy place, especially on Fridays. And, just a lot of people coming in, going out, and it wasn't an issue then. So.
And I think the other bonus is that it's just been vacant for the last couple of years. I mean, no offense to Panera, but we weren't waiting for them to, market the space. We've been marketing the space aggressively and trying to find tenants. And I think that, one of the other the other benefits of this development is I think it's just going to catalyze more tenants as, a newly redeveloped site, shiny new Panera will probably draw, other restaurants into the area, which I know is a big, ask of a lot of community.
Yeah, this, I mean, this process, this village center concept is 10 years and 12 years in the making now.
Oh,
So
more than that.
finally getting a shovel in the ground at the new development is huge. And that, like Sam indicated, that hopefully is the catalyst for other development and other tenants that want to come in and redevelop some of the existing properties.
Questions? Everybody okay with the community benefit, or want to discuss that further, or some comments related to that?
I'm okay. Is everyone else okay with the community benefits we have so far?
All right, well, if there are no other.
Sure.
If there's other questions, I know she had to step out. Should we try to get her back into the vote, or?
Probably.
Okay, so, see if you can grab her real quick.
This will come back before us
She's in my
Yeah.
office.
Yeah.
after the development contract.
Yeah, so the development agreement has to be approved by city council, and then they will also have to go for final site plan approval to the planning commission. So they're not done with us yet. They're
They're like
a third of the way
halfway
through the
through.
process, maybe.
And that's
Maybe
include the
halfway.
lighting and the street signage. and all that
Yeah,
good
this
stuff.
all the signage is that's part of the final approval with the sign permits.
Oh, we've had some really bad signs. Just want to make sure it's good looking sign. It's still a paper sign.
Can I ask you a question?
What?
Can I ask you a question?
Toby, why don't you start with her on the roll call? The roll call.
Roll call, Mayor Garrett,
Yes.
Councilmember Canes,
Yes,
Councilmember Miller. Yes. Councilmember Jennings, Mayor,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Cantor,
Yes.
motion carried.
Thank you, and I apologize, because this is a special meeting and I do work, I have a meeting that I have to be in, so excuse me just for a moment. I'll be back.
Okay, next on the agenda is discussion of the energy questions. So who wants to introduce that? Oh, actually, one of you guys are here. One more time. Just wanted to, in the packet we had, I think it was Roddy, you responded with the email. You responded with an email that was in the packet.
Oh, that was, no, that was another representative.
Oh, then never
from
mind, never mind.
Panera.
Yeah.
So, no worries, we'll get on that
Yeah,
one.
okay.
Thanks.
Yes.
Thanks, guys.
All right, thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Okay, so as you all know, we have narrowed down the candidate pool for you have narrowed down the candidate pool for the city administrator search. 3 individuals have been contacted and to have interviews set up. And in your packet today are some questions. There's 16 questions that Joyce has provided. Unfortunately, she had a conflict for today, and so she's not able to attend. But wanted to make sure that you had these and then get some feedback if there's any changes that you wanted to make to these questions. I also sent you later in the day, information we got from Joyce late yesterday, for with the 3 candidates, application materials, and I believe she had some other instructions in there for information regarding finalists. And so we just wanted to give you an opportunity to talk about the upcoming meet and greet, interview questions, and also find out what's your fancy on recording, not recording, Zoom, not Zoom, so. Let's start with the questions, I guess.
Okay, so what is your, would you rather prefer us to email you with modifications or additions, deletions, and then let you guys distill it and put out another draft to the rest of us, or would you want to go through them one by one right now? What do you think makes the most sense?
Who's doing the question? Who's doing that? You guys or Joyce?
These are questions that Joyce put together. We're just collecting information right now. So if you want to change it, we'll collect it and we can disseminate it to Joyce. So she has all of your comments.
And these
Yeah,
are the
last
questions you
time-
guys will be
these are-
asking. them.
Yeah,
Last
so,
time we alternated, the council members asked the questions, and we just went down the row, just circled through. So
I
everybody
understand, but you
asked
just
them.
asked a question if they were going to be doing this and whatever. That was why I asked who's doing the compiling.
Oh, okay.
questions.
I'm sorry. That's what I should.
And I also have a question, there's something, March 31st, some reference information, March 31st to mayor and city council. We received this today at 3:01. It came to me. Why is that? Where has this been?
I'm pretty sure that's just a typo.
March 31st, 2022 is a typo?
Well, we didn't put this document together. This was Joyce that put this together and she provided it to us and we have since then provided it to you. So I think it's safe to presume that this is a typo on on the part of Joyce.
I think, I could be wrong, but I think this is the same document we received before, with this time with the names de-identified. So she probably, my guess is she probably prepared 2 versions of the document for when the de-identified information was finally sent to us, as it was today. But that's my guess.
Is Joyce going to be at both these events?
Yes, she will.
Yes.
Okay, so if we're gonna send you guys edits to get another draft document, when do you guys need them by?
You'll need it.
Tuesday, right?
I think no later than noon on Friday.
I
That would be the
I-
absolute
even-
latest.
I would
I mean,
thinking
I
like
would say noon
tomorrow.
tomorrow is preferred, but if there are individuals that may not be able to make that deadline, then perhaps it can be extended till Friday.
And then the interviews are the following.
Interviews are gonna be on
Tuesday.
Tuesday the 7th, 2:30, 3:30, and 4:30.
Why don't we say the end of day tomorrow?
Okay, close of business tomorrow.
That way you guys can just file them and get a new draft out to us. So that we can.
And also to let the residents know that there will be a reception, small reception from 5:30 to 7:30 on Monday, June 6th. And then the interviews will be the next day and June 7th at 2:30, 3:30, and 4:30.
Have you guys made a flyer or posted that? Are you guys planning on posting that on Facebook?
Yes, it'll be posted on Facebook. The flyer hasn't been set yet. One of the things that I do want to find out from council tonight, or we all want to find out from council tonight, is how you would like those interviews handled. It's not a closed session, or no closed session is required. And I think we've actually actively discouraged that. But would you like to treat it just as you would any other council meeting and have it Zoom, Zoom, Facebook Live, the whole 9 yards? Do you also want to record it? I mean, it's one thing to have it on Zoom and have it accessible that way, but do you want to memorialize this?
Yeah,
These interviews with recordings? I don't know.
Well, and also, In the past, the time to ask the questions, the residents, the time to ask the questions, we usually have paper and pencils there. They can write down questions that they might have for the candidates. We also have, and that would be Monday night for them to do that, because as soon as the interviews are done on Monday, you guys go into deliberation on the candidates at that time. So there will not be time for the residents to give their input after that, after the interviews.
Yeah, personally, I think Zoom makes sense so that we can have it as a wide dissemination of meetings so that people who want to link in can. I guess my thought is, in terms of taping it, if the candidates may be a little bit more open if it's not taped, knowing that what they say is not memorialized. If it could, if they say something inappropriate or whatever, that it's going to haunt them for the rest of their life every time they go through an interview. I don't know what. I mean, I know when we interviewed Cheryl, it was not taped. So my personal preference would be to stick with that protocol.
But Royal Oak,
Yeah,
Royal
we
Oak
didn't
was,
assume either. Yeah, no, that wasn't a thing back then.
Royal Oak take theirs, and I think it's kind of common to do it.
Have you heard, are there any other cities? Or was it just Royal Oak?
I think it's really up to the choice of council. I mean, other, it's kind of mixed. Some communities do conduct their interviews. Some of them will have, actually have a subcommittee do the interviews, and then have a full, meeting, but that's taped and kind of summarized, but it's really whatever the pleasure of council is. In the past, and I think, did you check with Jim to find out if it was televised but not recorded?
No,
Fire one.
an opportunity.
It's a whole new world.
Yeah, it's definitely, everything now is it's very different information, whether you want it to be memorialized or not. It has a way of memorializing itself and coming up at the most inopportune times. So that's something that, the applicant should already be aware of regardless before they come in and do these interviews. But really, I think, whatever the preference of council is, I don't think there's a right or a wrong answer.
will the meet and greet be taped?
No, no, that's
Reception.
just a reception, a mixer, if you will.
So they're not up on the stage or anything to ask questions or?
We did ask, I think they've been asked, Joyce asked them to give like a 5 to 7 minute presentation about like themselves, but
And then they circulate with
and then
the
they
residents?
circulate and
Okay.
they go, but no, we're not gonna take that.
Do you recall if the last time we interviewed for?
We did not. There's no recordings of those.
Thank you.
Yeah, personally, I don't have a strong preference either way. If I had to choose, I don't know.
Is there, I'm thinking, so possibly record it, but not necessarily have it posted to Facebook?
I mean, we could,
I just don't think it's
we don't
necessary.
need, so this is, that's the Facebook. That's the Facebook Live camera. So, I mean, we could certainly choose to, that automatically goes, right?
Right.
So if we wanted to, I think if we wanted to tape it in, we don't necessarily have to use that camera. We could use the other cameras and that would just be, that wouldn't necessarily go out. And Jim typically places all of our meetings on YouTube, whether it is a recording from Facebook Live or a recording from the TriCaster. So, make the report, we can record it
I just,
and not put
I'm
it out
just-
there, but I mean,
I don't
Then
know if
what's
it's
the point of that,
necessary
right?
for it to be on Facebook. That's my only concern.
I mean,
Like, is
I
that
think
transparent, accessible.
I think that if,
Be transparent in many ways, but
I think
that
if we
doesn't
wanted-
mean always a person wants to be on Facebook. What if that person doesn't want to go on Facebook? So what if all three of these candidates don't want to go on Facebook? So now we need
Right.
to start back from the drawing board.
They'll be on Facebook after if they're appointed.
I think
And the
that,
interview times are not convenient for residents. They start at 2:30 in the afternoon. So that's my concern about it.
I think if you broadcasted it via Zoom, that will allow you to, our residents are familiar with the Zoom platform there. As you can see, they're still engaged on the Zoom platform. So that would allow them to access the interviews, view the meeting. And then we don't necessarily have to record Zoom. And so the idea of having this like permanent moralization of their interview, good, bad, or ugly, it's not necessarily there, right? But it's still accessible to a broad audience.
I'm not on any social media, so I don't have an opinion. I prefer not to be, but I don't think most other people. That would be my opinion. I mean, it's a private interview.
Right.
You may or you may not get the job.
It's not a private.
Yeah, it's not, well, yeah, it's not a private interview. It's an interview that takes place during a public meeting. So I guess the question, again, there's no right or wrong answer to this. So I don't think there's necessarily, I think you could take a straw poll and see what council's pleasure is, but again, that's the idea that you're protecting the applicants from a potential faux pas or something. I think that should be very, very little on the radar. It is a different world. A lot of things are streamed and stored on YouTube. And, if this is on Zoom, somebody could record Zoom and broadcast it themselves. And so it becomes memorialized in that sense. So really, I think it's a policy decision at council, how they wish to, I think, whatever, obviously letting the candidates know that these meetings will either be recorded and time delayed broadcast for the residents via Zoom or cable TV or whatever council chooses. But letting the applicants know upfront what the format is, I think is going to be important, and they can plan and prepare accordingly.
So let's do it through a poll. Karen, what's your preference?
I think that it should be Zoomed and recorded.
Jim?
Just Zoom and record. I don't care.
I'm fine with Zoom and record.
Okay, Zoom and record.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody else have any other questions about the interview process or anything to do with the?
Who are we getting the questions to? Just all three of you? If we have a question?
Just send them to us, yeah, and we'll get them
And
together.
again, that's by close. If you have questions on the questions or comments or edits on the questions, get them to the three administrators by the close of business tomorrow.
And you want the exact same questions for all three?
4:30, yep.
Yeah, all three, they all get the same.
Exact same
interview.
questions. Okay.
Yeah, so if there's additional, and I think you guys, you touched on it a little bit earlier, but I think you should have a plan on how you're going to ask the questions, who's going to ask the questions. If there's follow-up questions, how you're going to have that. Just preparation and organization, I think, is important for the council in this interview. So if there's questions about that or discussion about that, this is the time.
So is everybody fine with just doing it, I mean, the way we did last time, where one person, maybe Kelly starts, asks the first question, and then we just kind of circle around. So all the questions are asked, so everybody gets to ask, 3 or 4 questions during the interview for each candidate.
And we're all going to have the updated version of this.
We'll all have the same spec.
Okay. Fine with that.
I'm fine.
And then in terms of follow-up, if they answer a question and we want to ask a follow-up question, we want to just kind of play it by ear, or do we want to have an approach where just the mayor asks follow-up questions, or?
We should all be able to ask follow-up questions if we have something that.
I think there's still the one risk. I agree with that, but the one risk, I mean, we just have to have the mayor control it, because if we all start asking, if we have 5 follow-up questions to every question, we're not going to get through the entire script. One of the things we want to do is make sure we get through the entire script for all candidates. So all candidates are evaluated, with a fair equal process. So
Perhaps we do follow-up questions
end.
after we get through all of them
Yeah.
and then we
Yeah.
go back if we have time.
the only thing I don't like about that is if somebody answers a question, well, I guess I would say you want to
write it
dig into
down.
something a little bit deeper in that aspect. It's relevant at that particular time. When you go back to it later, maybe may lengthen things. I don't know.
Sometimes that changes the flow of the interview. If you've got a backup question that you want to ask right then and there, it's pertinent right then after you get through the rest of your dialogue. That may or may not be pertinent anymore, or it may have been forgotten, or the situation you won't be able to expand upon because you've already gone past that point. So.
Right. I mean, the one thing that I'm certified, so I'm certified in behavioral based interviewing, and one of the things that happens a lot is when you're doing interviews is candidates kind of go off track and they start talking about what they would do, or instead of giving a specific example of what they've done in the past, so you can assess their behavior. So if somebody's going off philosophically, you want to know, well, what exactly did you do? I'd like to be able, personally would like to be able to ask that at that time, saying, well, can you tell me specifically what you did in that situation?
I think you want to have that ability to be able to redirect them and get them back on track
Yeah.
where you want, because as you said, I do tons of interviews. So if you don't have that ability to put them back on track where you want, you're losing all that information that you're not going to get.
Well, should we limit our questions?
Well, that's what I think, maybe that's what I was saying, let the mayor determine whether or not. So
I think, yeah.
But how does she know what the follow-up questions are? The
No, I
follow-up
mean-
questions are going to come during the interview.
No, I meant this amount of, maybe we take it down from 15, so we have a little more time or is this pretty standard? These, I didn't read them yet.
Those are the MML suggested
Oh,
questions,
okay.
so they're pretty standard.
Yeah.
And I think, the applicants are gonna have these questions as well. So
Oh,
you
all
may
right.
get very scripted results. That's why I encourage to take a look at them and kind of put your own Lathrup Village touch on them.
Okay.
Just to, so you're not getting a rehearsed interview. The way I would handle it, like the chief has indicated, you are gonna have situations where you're gonna want to redirect or follow up at that time. Maybe limit to 1 to 2 questions, follow up, and then if there's additional or something, then maybe individual council members can make that request through the mayor to explore that option, and then based on the time and where we're at in the schedule, we can address it as needed. I don't know if these have a rigid rule, but as long as there's an understanding on how it's going to operate, just so that we look like a well-oiled machine to the applicants.
Sounds good to me.
Anything else? All right, I guess next we will move on to the budget, discussion of the 2022-2023 budget. And I'm assuming that Pam is going to introduce that.
Now it's time for me to go home now.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
I'm
I
sorry.
guess
My time is up. It's
The
my
rest of us get
bedtime.
to leave.
Yeah, I know we're going to talk about it. Pam and I talked about this a little bit earlier today, but I think we need to look at it pretty stringently, given that it's got an $8,000,
Well-
$800,000, at least right now.
I've been doing different things with it since the one I gave you. I have done different things. I did get a check in today for Metro Act Authority, which we usually get about 15. We're getting about 18 this year, and we got about 17 last year. So I did up that amount in your revenue side. I'm also, we've talked about some of these things, but I need to get direction from council. Where do you want me to go with different things? You have the first draft that we did, and then I sent out the second draft for everybody to look at. Really, there has to be some hard cuts made, and in the future, and it's gonna probably be a near future, there's gonna have to be a Headley override, because our millage keeps going down and down and down with our Headley override. And as you can see on your the page I gave you, I did even up the millage or up the SEV from 160,000 from the first draft to 162,000. That I'm trying to take in consideration, because we have a lot of veterans that live in Lathrup Village that are tax exempt from all taxes. We have quite a few poverty or hardship cases in Lathrup Village. I have to take into consideration of that. So I can't really up the taxable value any more than 162,000. And because I wouldn't feel comfortable doing it any higher, we could come in higher than that with our revenue when we're all said and done at the end of the year or after the tax collection. But I don't feel upping that any more than that because I'm not sure on what the, like if we getting more veteran exempts in, and those are now, I think we have maybe about 10 to 15 of them here in the city right now. And then also, I think last year we had about 6 hardship cases, so.
Yeah, just for residents who may be watching, just to explain what Headley is. Headley basically says that it's a state tax law that basically says that every year that our revenue increases, our millage rate has to decrease so that we get no more revenue except for an inflation adjustment that we did the prior year. And so
We can't collect anymore.
right, we can't collect, right. So the millage rate can only go down. So if our taxable value goes down from one year to the next, it's not like we get to raise the millage rate back up. So it only goes down. I did a lot of discussion on this, if anybody's come to some of the infrastructure meetings, but our chartered millage rate is 20 mils. And it just keeps falling as property values go up and up. And I think, what is it down to now?
And
Like
actually
17?
we're at 17, but 1 mil goes to the
Right, I
public,
get that,
yeah, the library. And then we're only at 16.5.
Yeah, so
for
in
the
the
city
past,
portion.
what was it, 2008? We did the last Headley override?
I think it was,
10.
yes.
2010,
10?
2010, yeah. So we did a Headley override, and basically what a Headley override is where the voters vote as to whether or not they want to reset the lowered millage rate back to the chartered maximum, so that we start
the 20.
garnering the full chartered revenue. And basically erase the drops that we had prior. And some communities have actually done, I know you and I talked about this a couple of years ago, Scott, a permanent Headley, and I think they can make it permanent for what, 10 years or something like that. I know we looked into it.
Yeah, I
at the
believe
time.
it's 10. It's a shorter period of time. It
Yeah.
might be 5, but
But yeah, those are things we can talk about.
Before you start rolling it back.
Yeah, but I know, at least from the reports from our auditors over the years, I mean, up until about 3 years ago, we were one of the only communities in the state who continually, through the recession, continually grew our general fund, even though it was only a small amount each year.
Yep.
It's better than going the other way. And then starting with COVID, in the COVID years, we started digging into the general fund, and I think it was $250,000 in the first year, then around 300,000 the next year. And
We're looking at about 300 this year, 350,000. But that's estimated right
Right,
now. I'm
right.
trying to change those figures as I get better figures after accounts payables and revenue coming in and things like that.
right, but
So the estimates are always changing.
right, and so for the proposed
As far as I
budget for
can.
2020, 22, 23, it's almost, at least in the current draft, it's about 800,000, which to me says that we've got to, I think, go department by department and do some
Yes.
belt tightening and
Mhm.
drop it. I mean, I'm just one voice, but I know personally, I would like to see that drop by at least half, if not more.
Well,
Because our fund balance right now, drops from where's the starting balance, 1.2 to about 400,000.
Yeah, that's
With the
huge.
particular
Yeah,
budget, which
it
is
is
Huge.
which is absolutely huge. It's way too much.
I did make one change in, I know Scott's not gonna be happy with me on this one, but we talked about it. In his budget, he would like to have a lieutenant and then 2 sergeants. Well, what I did is I left the lieutenant position there for him, but I removed one of the sergeant positions, and that brought down our fund balance to 658,000. So that's a drop from what we had of the 792. The other thing is, looking at capital improvement, which I didn't do anything with that yet, but I talked to DPS today on their capital improvement, and Scott's the capital improvement for, I don't even know if it included.
Yeah, I don't
in
think
there.
it was
Oh, darn. I thought I included that, I'm sorry.
in the last one.
I had more, but the DPS in it, we're looking at having to transfer over from the general fund to the capital improvement fund of $200 and some thousand, $207,000. So, but looking at, or no, 302,000 is what it is. But looking at that is, The police department's asking for 2 police vehicles, which they desperately need. I do know that. They have some taser equipment that every year they have to pay $3,400 for it. You can help me with your other, because I don't have it with me. I'm sorry. I thought I did. They also, the DPS is looking for a backhoe. They are desperately in need of a backhoe, and that's 100,000 right there. But then they were also looking at storage units for like their mulch and their
Mulch, the stone.
Oh, the stone,
like
the
waste stuff that
yeah, they get
waste
things
dirt.
like that. And that was 20,000 there. And they said, I asked them, which one do you need? Absolutely need. And they said the backhoe would be their preference if they were to get backhoe.
Only you had some property like in the woods where they
Right.
could store the material.
Or new businesses that can come and generate, $50,000 a year. Yeah, I know.
Oh.
Or a new business type that would generate,
So if we want to go
Yeah.
through line item by line item, we can do that. As you look at the revenues, the other revenues, I did, the community room, we are doing great in that. We only budgeted 15,000 for this year. We're at 60,000 revenue coming into the community room right now. So I did up that to the 60,000 for next year. We still have another month to go in revenue for that. So we've been doing great on that. It's booked almost every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So we're doing great on that. We also have other things going on. We have somebody that's renting the meeting place 2 days a week for tutoring purposes. So they're going to be during the day while we're here, they're renting the meeting place. So that's additional revenue coming in there. And we do have, like I said, we have 2 churches here on Sunday, so they're renting right now. So we are really trying to utilize our space as best as we can to really get out there. We're having a lot of things in the park. People are renting the park for different activities, graduation parties, things like that. So we have been renting that out as much as we can too, with the weather being nice and that. We also try to utilize our other parks, but a lot of times we don't know if people are renting those or not unless they have the permits. So if they just go to them and use them, we're not sure on that, so. But I don't know on the revenue where we can gain any more revenue. I do know that in the past, we have anything we've spent on senior citizen or the seniors for their luncheons, their travels, their anything they have done, we have gotten CDBG money back, but we do not right now have a CDBG coordinator that is handling that, and we haven't really been doing anything with the senior activities. So, but we used to get money back for that. So that's one thing we could look at doing again, is getting back to the CDBG monies that we get from the county. Our police department. The other one is our Parks and Rec department. In the past, we've actually, our recreation fees, we had like 50,000 coming into 60,000 in Parks and Rec revenue. And with the COVID and things like that, as you look at the budget, at the actual for 2021 was only 8,500 coming in. We budgeted for 15 this year. We only have brought in, as of 3/31, $2,032. So I don't know, I mean, that's another thing that we should look at, is maybe utilizing our recreation to, for some revenue things. So these are things I need help with council on. Where do you think we can get revenue from? Where do you think that, we need to make a hard cuts? So.
I mean, I don't know, one thought, I don't know what other people think, but maybe tonight try to set a target for each of the areas, like public safety, ground building and grounds, and so forth. Try to set a target of this area needs to reduce $100,000. This area needs to reduce $50,000 or whatever. And then have each of the department heads take a hard look and see, what can they live without for another year, and then come back with a updated budget and see if they can hit those targets. But yeah, it just seems like I mean, all the things that you've been mentioning in the last few minutes, they're all great.
But it's
the problem-
not,
they're not gonna solve the problem.
It's not gonna solve the problem.
the little things add up.
And even the little expenses coming out, that's not gonna solve the problem in the long run. I've been doing this budget different ways. I've got 4 different budgets I'm working on. And they're all mean something different, just to see where the cuts can be made, where are the different things, where I can reduce things, where I can reduce that fund balance amount that we're taking. I mean, I have done as many different scenarios that I can think of to do on certain things. So that's why I'm asking council of what they're looking at, what they're, you know, when they looked at the budget, what are you looking at on different things? I mean, it looks, if you look at it, hiring. I mean, I might never be able to get a deputy treasurer the way it's going right now. If I look at this budget, I mean, I don't think we can hire a deputy treasurer, and that's not going to be good for the audit. I'll tell you that much right now, because I'm doing too much of the audit stuff, or doing too much of the financials and things like that. Bringing in a manager, it would help some, but it's not going to help all the way.
Right, so city manager would have to figure out if we don't get deputy treasurer.
Yep.
But again, I think it's gonna be hard, not impossible, and I certainly don't want to stymie anybody's ideas up here, but I think it's gonna be hard for us to, look at, next time we saw the, we can figure out how we can reduce that cost. I mean, it seems like to me, my thought is that the next logical step would have each of the department heads just take a really hard look at what they can live without. And then maybe bring that back to us, and then we can try to prioritize that. But yeah, I mean, we got to get at least half of that out, if not more.
Right now, our building maintenance account is over budget, and that's gonna, right now, it's over budget by probably $6,000 or $7,000. And that has to do with the room downstairs, our units upstairs on the roof. Those are not, they haven't been working properly. I just got another, because the air in this room, as you can tell, is a little warm. We are down 2 condensers here, or 2 contractors. For this unit here, we have to get that fixed. We have a leak check unit is not cooling, so they have to do that. And then the main floor unit needs a contractor too. So those are going to be another big cost. I'm trying to hold off till after the fiscal year if I can. I don't know if I'll be able to. You guys might have a couple more meetings, but
Meetings in the park.
Yeah.
might be. But it's just, so I'm asking council to guide me in how you want to handle this, the general fund balance, or the general fund. You know,
And what other spots are, but go department by department, and see what we can get rid of.
What is there's a $30,000 increase in cable TV productions. What is that?
well, that's all these recordings we're doing now. We never used to record every single planning commission. We never recorded and zoomed in all those meetings. We're doing planning commission, we're doing all the council meetings, all the special meetings, all the study sessions. We never used to record the study sessions.
We didn't do it last year?
No. Yeah, we only did everything on Zoom
Mhm.
when we had the pandemic. That was the only thing we did, but we never recorded study sessions. Now we're recording everything, so we have to increase that budget. Because he's here more, he's got a contract with the city, and he's here more and doing more recording, and that was something that council had asked for, to have the more recordings, so. And then, I mean, there are some things he does, I think there's, but then there's other things that he's doing that are above and beyond too.
So there's been that much of a change since COVID, since all of the recordings that were done in COVID.
We were only doing Zoom, so Zoom wasn't, because Jim didn't have to be here for Zoom, because we never did it. We all did it on the computers from home and that. We never did it within the council chambers at that time. So, and he did give, I think he gave what the costs were for the different, I know he just gave me his bills for May and June to let me know how much they're gonna be, so when I do budget amendments, because I have to do budget amendments for the end of the year too, for June 27th, so.
Well, I'm gonna,
So,
go ahead. No,
no,
go ahead.
I want to hear what you have to say.
No, I was agreeing with Bruce about taking a hard each person. Go ahead.
I agree. We should. Are we going to go line by line tonight, or
It's your, what's your pleasure? It's up to
or
council.
as much as we can take? Maybe like a part one, part two.
Again, I mean, I'm more than willing to go line by line, but I think the first pass should be made by the department heads. I mean, let's pick a target among us, let's, again, I'm throwing out a number, $500,000. And then have you go back and see,
No,
make a target for government services, make a target for public safety, make a target for buildings and grounds, and then have, people in those areas, go through and say, what can I live without? And I think if we, I know this year we're talking, $350,000, $400,000. If we choose to get $500,000 out of it, or $600,000, or whatever that number is that we choose, pick an arbitrarily high number, and then we can put some things back in if we have to. But I think that's the way it's got to start, and then we can help prioritize what those actual final decisions are.
well, I did do a lot of cutting in the recreation for now because there is no, recreation director right there. So I didn't know that one. I did cut some, but I did put in, I did put in some community expense, but not,
Yeah.
I'd like to do more.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense to have a director at 48,000 for a $14,000 budget, so.
Yeah, that seems ridiculous.
But the position is important and it's in
But
our
could the
charter.
position be a part-time position for the Parks and Rec?
Well, it
I mean,
should
we
be,
used to have a
right?
part-time
It could.
position. If,
That's what it was.
Yeah, it used to be a part-time position. Could it go back to a part-time position? Could it be done without, then they wouldn't have the benefits? Actually, right now in the Parks and Rec directors, that budget, the directors at a family level for fringes, because you don't know what the person's gonna be. You don't know anybody you hire in here if they have a family, they're single, or they're couple. So you have to go with the high end of all the benefits because you don't know what they're gonna come in as.
I mean, I think that we could start out with being part-time, at least trying to for this year.
Well, I think our Parks and Rec needs to be beefed up. We don't really have much going on, so. Using COVID numbers is, I don't know, I think we're really missing community activities, so. I'm not saying a part-time person couldn't do it, but I don't think we're at the level that we need to be with Parks and Recreation and things going on in the community. That isn't done by DDA.
We're working on it.
Again, but
I
again,
did attend a meeting.
that could be a budget amendment. I
Yeah,
mean,
exactly.
we don't have a Parks and Rec director at the moment, so how do you plan for that until someone says, I want?
You've been working with it?
Yes, Susie met with us and I had a meeting with two others and we do have a plan or I shouldn't say I attended it, but yes, they're putting something together, some programs.
So technically they can help with kind of.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, we can utilize
Community.
them instead of necessarily. thinking
Now,
about
are the
being a
programs gonna
director.
be, is there gonna be a charge for the programs or? Okay, yeah, I'm just asking, so.
Yeah, I mean, those are things that we'll have to consider. I mean,
Right.
Charging for all programs. I mean, man,
Well,
it's a huge
It's very
deficit.
tight.
Well, I
yes.
also need to focus on residents rather than
I
outside.
do think we need to,
People.
at least if we get the room for free, you can charge a nominal fee for the residents to come in and do whatever activity they present.
But if it's a Parks and Rec activity, then it would be for free. It would
That's-
be for free, so.
Okay, and that's basically
Yeah.
what we were figuring, or they were figuring.
But there's only $14,200 in that budget right now, right?
Well, this one would, yes. Oh, no, it wasn't even that high, was it?
No, we were talking about trivia, right? That was-
Oh, yeah, that one event, but
Yeah.
no, I was saying, yeah, so really, you just need the money to start it and
Yeah.
then you
On the
collect
recreation,
some money.
It looks like
For
there's
that would be
$60.
attributed to
Maybe round it up
actual.
For the
to 100 if you
projected
want, just to be on the safe side, right?
Right, but that includes salaries
But at
and
least-
wages.
Hey,
fringe.
can we have this one conversation, please? Thank you. I'm sorry.
So,
Go ahead.
oh, no, I was just gonna say, so there's some work on it, but again, The positions are all up for grabs because they all expire this month. So anybody interested in Parks and Rec, and we do want to start our activities again for our seniors, our all age groups, our children, put in an application and get involved. And, you know, maybe this for temporarily can be a community resident effort.
But you can't do it as a council member.
No, I can sit in at the meeting. I can give my ideas.
Yeah, she can participate.
Oh, I was told that wasn't allowed. Okay.
Don't do that.
Scott at a meeting when we
The
did breakfast with
day-to-day,
the bunny.
doing the day-to-day operations and council members serving as a park and rec director is not permissible, but council members volunteering or working with the assistance of a recreation board is encouraged. It's not prohibited.
That's the reason liaison is on the end of it. So,
Oh,
yeah.
well, I agree. We need to keep it going. We need to keep moving forward with or without a director.
I agree with you. And I think that we should make it a part-time position. I mean, you know, get the input from everyone else. I think that.
And maybe one of our volunteers will volunteer for the
That would
position
be
if they
excellent.
come up with a bunch of great ideas.
That would be an idea. Ideal.
So if I can just interject on the law, on the public safety side, a lot of the things that we're looking at, you know, in this year's budget coming up is technology upgrades. One of them is for body cameras. Sergeant Zhang's been working for about 6 months on a grant proposal. Sounds like we have been preliminary awarded that grant, which is a 50-50 match for the city. So that'll take that. I mean, this was the original budget that came out, said 40 grand.
Yeah.
I think we knocked it down to 25
For the cameras.
for the body cameras. But
Are
then
you-
we're also talking about a server, because now you're talking about saving not only
data.
video from the body camera, but also from the in-car cameras, because they work in conjunction. So there's a $15,000 cost for that. I mean, a lot of these are just, again, continuing to keep up with the technology demands. Most of our stuff that we have now is out of warranty. So when stuff breaks, there's a huge expense to start replacing this stuff.
And that's what we're trying to do with a lot of things, is trying to, like every year, the administrative side puts in, even though we don't get them all the time, we put in for 2 computers, because you never know when a computer is going to go.
Right.
This year, we had our front counter computer go down, and I had to take the city administrator's computer, put it up on the front counter. So right now, the city
Pam,
administrator.
I will bring
decided-
mine back. I've never used it. You can have that back.
That's fine. We've got a couple of sitting in the office that are going to be updated.
Okay.
Brand new
And
ones.
where, Scott, where are you? Is that on page 60?
Well, this was on the very first one
It's on the very first one. It's
that I
not,
gave you.
Oh, I didn't bring that one with me. Okay.
so one of the things that we just did with computers, since you brought it up, we actually just changed out 3 hard drives for a tune of about maybe $500 instead of buying 3 brand new computers. We just changed out the hard drives with IT Right. And it seems to really have helped what we're doing. So
We also asked IT Right to look at the police being on our server, even though they have they have certain things with lean and that. But we don't know how cost effective that would be to have them, because of the lean and their password protected, things like that. So
Should they really be on the same server?
they
not supposed to be.
can.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
It's really not,
I
with
didn't think
the
so.
law enforcement information network, it's
Right.
really supposed to be separate and not, like, as a prosecutor, I can't even run an inquiry on lien. I have to have, someone from the department do it. And I've taken the classes and I have the certification, so access to it is very strict, and it's.
Well, IT Right was looking at it, but they did say that, it would have to be a certain way.
Yeah,
And
you'd
that
have to
we-
partition and cut yours in
Yeah,
half so that
and
the
that's
city
what they would
couldn't
have to do.
have
So,
any
no,
access
we
to
would
it.
have no access. Theirs would be separate, but it would all be, because we have enough room on our server actually for them, is what they said. But they were gonna look into more details of that. So, but I don't know if that's gonna work or not, so. We're trying to figure out costs here, if we can do it without getting a server right now, or.
I just know that they're pretty particular on lien, so.
they're very
It's
particular.
not an
We're-
area
we're
we
we're still
wanna
trying to get
massage.
up to speed with the state police, because they just did an audit, and we got dinged on a few things, but again, it's technology. As technology changes, we haven't been able to keep up with the requirements. So now we're looking at fulfilling those requirements, which again is the cost with all the technology.
No,
So
I definitely get it. I mean, but again,
Yeah.
I mean, we're
And
gonna have to make some hard choices.
Right.
And you know, all the things we've been talking about. I mean, we have to cut recreation. I mean, I don't want to do that, but you know, we may have to not get a police car. I mean, we've got to find some things, and it's gonna sting across the board, but we've
Well, and
got to
Jalen,
find those things.
and Jalen did ask for money to be put in for the
I'm
server,
throwing out
or
all
no,
these
for the server, for the
examples, Donna.
community room. I did put 10,000 in there for the community room, because he talked about new curtains and maybe some fresh paint, things like that. I don't think we need the 10,000 in there. I mean, I would think maybe 5, even 2,500 maybe, you know,
Just to
if
get
you're just
somebody to
putting.
paint it.
Yeah,
just
I
not
didn't
doing
think
a
it was
total
gonna-
upgrade,
Huh?
That much money.
just for like painting, but not for a total upgrade.
I think, no, I think just for paint, he talked about painting and maybe curtains on, new curtains on the windows, and maybe, Barb would know more about costs than I would. But those, and then maybe, some of the ceiling tiles have to, but we got, that's another thing, our roof is gonna need repair, or we're gonna have to have a new roof put on this building in time, because I heard, you know, because it's leaking on the flat roof part. And there's only so many people that do that flat roof, so.
Yeah, the problem is with the tax laws in Michigan, the revenue side is never gonna change.
No.
This is a problem that we're gonna continue to have, and it's gonna continue to get worse and worse every single year.
Yep.
You know, and it was, we're seeing now, you know, it's an additional $400,000 deficit from last year, so. Yeah, I mean, my suggestion, as I said, is
Did you still
I
want to
mean,
go
what does all
line
the
by
other
line?
council
You
members
still want
think?
to go line by line?
Is there any, you know, and if you guys have
mean, we have
something on the
I feel
budget or
like-
something, you can always email me your, you know, your suggestions, or, you know, I mean, I've been working on this. I worked last weekend on it again, and, you know, I'm working at night on it.
Yeah, it's no way a reflection
I
of
just
you.
don't know what else
It's
to
just
do.
the reality
I
of,
just don't know what else to do.
right, right.
I did see one gentleman or somebody, and I can't find it now, a building inspection contract. What is that all about?
That is,
That's-
Jim Wright does our building inspections, or in our, for our businesses, for houses, when they do reconstructions or anything, remodels in the bathrooms, anything like
Oh, he
that.
does, okay.
Yeah, and they get a portion of our permit fees.
A large portion.
And that might be something else,
75%.
is looking at
That's
the
what I was
fee
gonna say. I was
structure.
about to say
Then we
that.
just fix the fee, we
You
just increase it.
Yeah, you did it, but I don't know if it's, you know, in
That's
line
okay.
with her.
We could certainly ask Jim for, you know, to reevaluate. I think there was 2 years ago, I want to
Yeah.
say. I know we looked at the planning fees around that same time, so maybe we can have Jim take another stab at it. I mean, you can always, I mean, Jim's got a lot of longevity here, for better or for worse. But I mean, you can always, you know, put out an RFP, their RFQ, and see. Well, maybe. See if you can get something different. I mean, there are
You
a
mean
couple
for-
other, for
for
building
vehicle
officials
inspection?
and, yeah, for inspection service.
And I mean, that's a hard thing to get, because I
Yeah.
mean, he does, what, 20 or 30 cities? I mean, I
Yeah,
don't know how
yeah.
many he does.
Jim's, I mean, Jim's scaling back his hours, but he has indicated he's intending to keep Lathrup Village, but I mean, yeah, building official, that certification is extremely hard to come by, but I mean, there are other consultancies
Yeah.
that perform a similar service as McKenna and Jim, so.
I mean, that's something to consider. Years ago, Jim Wright was contracted directly, but not with McKenna. And
So-
potentially, I mean, if his intention is to scale back and potentially retire, maybe he'd be interested in doing
An independent.
an
contract.
independent on, just a thought on for discussion with him.
And then
Yeah,
I-
maybe, you know, other things to consider, increasing penalties.
Mhm.
Fees, I mean.
Yeah.
Every little bit helps, but.
And are your fees picking up from the courts? You mentioned not so much.
Those are always.
They're very, I mean, you
That,
can't.
that amount is hard. I mean, the courts are trying to collect money just like anybody else.
Yeah.
And, you know, to be honest, I think the volume of cases is just down. COVID has, and the law, changes in the law, decriminalizing a lot of offenses, driving a license suspended. Previously, court used to be able to suspend your license if you didn't pay your ticket or tickets. They're no longer allowed. That's not a basis for suspending your license anymore. So
Not a arrestable offense anymore.
it's not an arrestable offense anymore. So a lot of, and other communities as well are experiencing this, but that was that was a large source of funds from the district court that are no longer there. And I don't expect them to come back because they're not making new offenses.
So you took that out, right, Pam? This,
I think I did.
You got it to it.
Let me look here.
okay, so there's no room to cut on that one.
Yeah, you reduced it already. I think I remember.
And the library, how come that jumped up so much?
Based on our tax.
1%.
Yikes.
One mil.
And that's just a calculation off of the, it comes from the tax millage rate sheet. It automatically feeds into that.
There were automatic raises given to staff.
In the first memo, I put in there that that there was a 5% due to cost of living. There was, and I had a bunch of things come in from different cities that they were giving anywhere from 3.5 to 5% for raises this year, or some were at even at 6 because cost of living increases and things like that. So.
Police for 2%.
And police are, because they're in a contract with their,
Right.
their union contract.
Has that ever been looked at? It's not.
I did look at it. I decreased it a little bit. It did not really decrease it that much. I don't even think it decreased to 50,000. If that, I would have to go back and refigure.
So I know that budget had gone up like 70-some% since like 2016, I think it was. So I was just wondering if there was any cuts that could be made in that section.
Like I said, they're hiring. There are being cuts made there. I mean, to positions or.
I mean, now that you brought it up, I mean, we have a RFP out for a clerk, right? And we have a clerk sitting right there that we could pretty much eliminate that into our fund, eliminate that. She's certified.
She's certified?
Yes.
No,
No,
she's
she's
going
not.
through classes right now.
She,
She's
don't you
taking
have,
classes.
don't you
She's
have one
taking
of
her
the
first class. Well, she's certified in one part,
Right.
but not the 3-year certification for the master. CMC.
I guess we do have to take into consideration that everyone's turned down the clerk position.
Yep.
So maybe there could be some way she continues to take the classes while she's already in the clerk position and see how that goes for now. Since she's already doing the work. I mean,
What's the legality and all that?
She's serving as the clerk right now. So that's, I mean, Galen's point is an excellent one. Attracting and going back to Karen's statement about 77% increase since 2016. Lathrup has a long history of underpaying their staff. And in large part, that's why there was a lot of turnover. Staff left because you could go somewhere else and make more money. So with it started with Mr. Potter in 2016 when he was hired. His wage jumped up significantly from what Mr. Baumgart was being paid at that time. And with every new hire, there's been an increase in wages to be more competitive, to attract competitive candidates. And I would anticipate that the city's going to be looking at this again with hiring a new administrator. You're not going to hire an administrator for $55,000 like what you paid Matt. I mean, it's just not going to happen.
And all of them right now are making over 85.
Yeah.
And one of the candidates that is on there is going to get a raise of 7% to be over 90,000 in July at where they're currently at from.
So it's, that's the reality of today's market, is that if you want quality candidates, you have to pay for them. I mean, there's a definite labor shortage right now in all industries, not just local government. So it's, cutting cost via your staff, all that's going to end up doing is resulting in interruption in services, lower quality services, or individuals that don't have the experience, don't have the ability.
And loss of more staff.
And loss of more staff. Jalen's point of promoting Kelda to the full clerk position with the understanding that she continued to obtain the necessary certifications. The city can bring in a consultant like they did last election, and Ms. Brunke. She came in and assisted with the election to make sure that everything runs smoothly there. I think from a cost perspective, it makes sense. As Kelda increases her certifications, then her pay would be more commensurate with what other clerks are making that have those certifications. Again, it's the clerk position is an integral position. That's one of the few administrator, attorney, clerk. Those are spelled at treasurer and assessor are identified in the charter as necessary department heads and positions. And right now, operating without one, there is some uncertainty. If Kelda were to leave tomorrow, I don't know what we would do. So we're very fortunate she stepped up and taken on that additional responsibility. I think it's something that council could consider or should consider. And we don't have to do it tonight. I mean, that could
Yeah,
be
that's not really appropriate.
Do you just want to go line by line?
No, I mean, what,
So the other place I keep looking at is going back to the, for video. I mean, that could be cut in half. you know. So I think that what we should do is. Get suggestion.
Yeah, I think we should target a number. You can decide on what that number is, and maybe pick it so it's low, like that it's a maximum of $300,000 deficit. That way all the departments have to prioritize what they need, and then, we can go from there. I guess the other question is how soon can you guys do that?
We can sit down tomorrow, I'm doing another position right now because we have somebody that's gonna be out for about 5 days,
Right.
so.
Yeah, like maybe get us
Oh.
another.
Yeah, and I'm gonna be doing that job too right now, so, but that's something that's unexpected and
Right.
I can't do anything about it, so.
Well, I don't remember, what's the exact due date for the end of June?
It's the
June
27th, but we have.
So
the-
it's the third Monday in June, which is the 20th, which is a federal holiday.
Holiday, so
That's
it'll be the
Juneteenth. So the
27th.
meeting will be on the 27th.
Okay.
So that's your deadline. There isn't, one of the things I did circulate today, and I was explaining it to Barb before. The last few years, Cheryl had done her own notice of public hearing and sent it out, resolution scheduling that public hearing date. We need to do that because that is a charter requirement that there be a public hearing. And so I've prepared the notice and the resolution scheduling that public hearing for the 27th. So that is something that I'll ask you guys to consider and adopt this evening.
Right, so maybe sometime next week, come back with a new copy of tell us when, but come back with a new copy of the budget, a list of, by department of things that, you're proposing that we could consider for, to get rid of.
When would be the best time? I know Mondays, Monday you're busy, Tuesday you're busy. I would suggest Tuesday after the interviews, but you're gonna be deliberating and I don't know how long that's gonna take, because I know one time it took till midnight, I think, or later.
We didn't start that one until like 6 o'clock.
Was it 1 o'clock in the morning or
It's
something?
something like
It was late. So, but
You're looking at next week.
Wednesday.
Oh, you mean to do another meeting?
we would have to.
I mean, you could do it.
But you're gonna have the updated,
I will send the updated out as soon as I can, as soon as I can get it out to you guys.
Right, I mean, we'll consider.
I just will let you know that this Friday, I will be taking a personal day and, but I will work from home a little bit in the morning that day. And I will work a little bit on Saturday, but I am booked Friday night, Saturday afternoon all day and Sunday all day. I have nephews that are graduating from high school and college. It's a busy weekend for me, so
What
Oh,
about,
that's
what
fine.
about Thursday or Friday?
that's what I'm,
Next week?
I mean,
so it would
I would
give,
suggest Tuesday. You guys are already
That's
here.
what I'm
And
suggesting.
you can start on it. If you need to
thought we were on
continue it,
Wednesday,
you
we're
can
on
post it
Thursday.
and as long as, it's not within the next 18 hours, you could post it another special meeting.
Yeah, I mean, as long as
Sounds
they
like
can,
Monday
I
and
mean,
Tuesday now.
as long as they have enough time, I mean, because they're obviously gonna have to go look at every item in every department and.
well, but the three of us can come up here in the conference room and we can sit down and whatever.
I say your department heads are pretty much right
Right.
here. Not too many more people to talk to.
Yeah,
That's great. We can do it at the.
so,
So Tuesday after the interviews?
Wednesday is the interviews, right?
no, Monday
No,
and Tuesday.
Monday and Tuesday.
Monday is the reception from 5:30 to 7, and Tuesday are the interviews from 2:30, 3:30, and 4:30.
You said for Tuesday?
The break and then deliberate for, I mean, say you deliberate for an hour.
Right, so then the special meeting will be deliberations and.
Well, the meeting is the interviews, deliberations and budget and potentially.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Kelly's not able to make that or
On Tuesday? After the,
interviews. Because you're gonna have to deliberate on the interviews that day
Right.
too.
what about
What about Wednesday or
Monday
Thursday?
after your meet and greet? I mean, the later
Yeah.
start to the meeting, right?
Monday.
But I mean, that ends, the meet and greet ends at 7:30. You could do a little.
7, so.
7,
yeah.
sorry. So you could have a special meeting on Monday.
You can or can't do Monday.
I can.
Yeah, Monday works for me.
That's fine.
Well, then let's shoot for Monday, if that works for everybody after the meet and greet. And then I will. Budget. Oh, that's right. These two will not be here on Monday, but I guess I'll have to take over the budget part on Monday. And I don't know if it would be televised or, well, depending on how Jim can,
Do you zoom in on Monday or you guys?
No. neither one of them can. Okay, that's fine. I mean, I just don't know if it can be Zoom though, because I can't be running the meeting from this side and zooming and everything too. But he could probably do, I don't know if he can do Facebook Live.
You could do Facebook Live. I mean, Facebook Live is that camera.
What's that called?
As long as we can keep the internet.
Oh, right.
Not another planning commission.
Right, right.
depends on which side of it you're on.
Right, right.
On the 8th, you have nothing, right?
No,
Okay. So we could do it on. Or you ought to be here. Can you do it on the 8th?
We,
What's that, Jim?
I mean, it's up, just give an option.
No, wait, I'm sorry, I can't. Go.
Yeah,
That's
because
on
that
Saturday
one
work
is
week.
the ninth-
That's
ninth
like the
of
worst week ever.
9th is a no.
It's like the worst stress.
And do you guys think realistically, if we did it on Monday, you can get an updated draft of the budget as well as on the list of things for us to prioritize? Is that doable on Monday?
I will work my hardest. I mean,
Well, if it's not, tell us, and we can, we can push it for later in the week, but.
I just don't know, because right now I'm trying to get the special assessments on the tax bills and
Right.
removing them off the water bills before we do print the new book
Right.
water bills.
So
off
what
the
I'm
water
hearing is it
account, so-
probably should be later in the week, just to be safe.
Well, it sounds like it's only going to be Friday then.
Friday?
No,
How
How about Saturday morning instead of
Not
our
available.
cartoons?
They don't do
We've done
cartoons
budget
anymore.
sections on Saturday.
I wish.
Why can't we do it on
Watch.
Tuesday? Is that not, is that too soon
Is
also?
that-
I mean, you all can. Tuesday was after the interviews.
What
Yeah.
about the 13th?
People work for me.
That's a Monday.
That works for me.
13th work for everybody?
Yeah.
Since it's a Monday?
I can do anytime.
Okay. Let's do the 13th then at 6 o'clock again.
They'll send us a reminder.
Yes.
Yes.
Of course. On budget all the time.
So what do we do with the resolution? Okay,
So that needs to be considered tonight.
that's the last item.
Well, that's part of item
We'll be
B,
back together for we have to do on the 13th regarding this.
publication.
Okay.
B.
Okay, and then you just have to, yeah.
Okay, so we're done with the discussions for the,
Budget.
yes.
Is there any more questions or any more suggestions?
I
Be
think of-
creative and take a hard look.
What do you think I've been doing? I got 4 worksheets up on my computer. Every day I'm knocking things and moving things and.
Barbara, did you say you have something?
Oh, no, I think,
She was
No, I
just
thought
asking
you had
about the resolution.
Oh, okay, so I just want to make sure we didn't have any more questions about the budget.
Thank you.
Okay, so next, which we should have adjusted the agenda to add,
Well, it's part of the discussion on the budget.
oh, okay, oh, gotcha, right,
Item D,
my bad.
this is the action request.
Gotcha. Okay, so we need a motion on the resolution scheduling a public hearing regarding proposed fiscal year 2022-2023 budget.
All right, I'll make a motion to schedule a resolution to
Adopt the
Wait.
resolution.
to adopt a resolution scheduling a public hearing for the 2022-2023 budget on June 27th of 2022 at 7 p.m. in the council chamber.
No, that's
Oh.
the study session. Usually it should be 7:30. Our new meeting times are
they are.
for the, but, or for the meeting. Because our study session go from 6 to 7:30.
Right,
So 7:30 p.m.
Second.
That's the document.
you said second?
I sent you a word, didn't I?
Yes.
There's a typo on my special language too.
You said
Been
7:30,
moved.
right? Second.
Yes, it's 7:30. It's been moved, it's been second. Is there now any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Roll call. Councilmember Miller,
Yes.
Mayor Garrett,
Yes.
Councilmember Jennings,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Cantor,
Yes.
Councilmember Canes,
Yes,
motion carried.
Thank you. And now we have, coming to the point for public comment. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes. This can be anything that's on your mind for 3 minutes. Is there anyone that's in the audience or on Zoom that would like to speak? If there's anyone that's on Zoom that would like to speak, just raise your hand, please. Seems like there is no one there that wants to make a comment. To mayor and council comment.
Wait, I would like to speak as a resident.
That's
I filed 5 FOIA requests on March 31st, 2020. Was given an amount of $4,500 to get the information. On May 2nd, I filed 1 FOIA request about the infrastructure committee. I paid $124. I brought it up at the last meeting as a council person and was told that wasn't appropriate. So that is why I'm presenting as a resident. And then on May 24th, the day after the last meeting, I received an email from Kelda saying that instead of $248, it was now going to be $496. On May 25th, 2022, I emailed Kelda back and said that I wanted to see what they had gathered before approving additional charges. It's now June 1st, 2022, and I have heard nothing.
Well, as a resident, I will advise you to consult the city's website. FOIA is a pretty clear process, black and white. The requesting individual doesn't get to negotiate what they would like or review it prior to. They also don't get to select their own dollar amount, which they would like to pay for the FOIA documents. So, and they also don't get to modify their FOIA request mid request. So if my understanding is that you've made multiple changes to your request, each change is considered a new request, which prompts the city to issue a new good faith deposit request. And
That was
this-
done on May 2nd, and I paid $124 because
But
it's
I don't
supposed to be
believe-
$248.
I think it was, the dollar amount was significantly higher than $124. I don't know where that,
$248 was what was quoted to me. Now it's $496.
well,
I only
again,
asked to be able to
the
see it
modification
because in
of
the
the
past,
request has resulted in additional labor costs the city has to incur to acquire all the information that you're requesting. And it does require, despite your insistence that the city doesn't have to go through it, it does require the city to go through that to make sure that the information being requested is appropriate, or the information being provided is appropriate to the request being made.
I understand that, but there were specific periods of time not that I was asking for information. And I asked to be able to see it before because in the past, people have gotten not available on their request. So I just wanted to
Well,
make
the
sure
request,
that
the
was
request
still
you made was
moving
for
along.
emails, which have to be retrieved by IT right, which does charge the city a service for retrieving that.
Mhm.
And because the broad nature of the request, approximately 5 years, I believe, of dates.
No, this is, infrastructure's only been in place for 3 years.
Okay, so 3 years worth of emails that need to be sorted through by someone that to make sure that they're relevant to the infrastructure subcommittee, because what IT right will do is any email on the individuals being requested. So there is a cost to that, which the requesting individual is responsible for paying that cost. The estimate's prepared by the city, not the requesting individual. And if that estimate is not made, or the payment is not made on the estimated funds, then the city is under no obligation to fulfill that
And
request.
is there a time limit on this? Because that was 21 days when what the amount doubled.
Well, again, it was a different request.
It wasn't a different
The
request.
initial
It was the
request,
same
the initial
request that I
request was
filed in
quoted, and
the
then
second.
the initial request that was made, there was an estimate provided, and the estimate was not received.
It
So
was,
that
the
request
estimate
is
was
treated as
$248.
withdrawn.
I paid $124 on May 2nd.
If you want to argue about
If
it
you would
after the
like me
meeting,
to
you can,
provide the
but,
paperwork, I will.
but it's a very clear process, black and white. It's on the city's website.
I followed the process. I don't think the process is being followed here.
I
That's
think it's a
the
different process. Though. It
problem.
might be a different Freedom of Information Act that you're referencing, because I'm not familiar with the provisions that you're relying upon.
I'm sorry, 5/2, I paid $124. I was given an estimate that it would take 12 hours. Now it's going to take 24 hours. I did not change the request. I did not change the request actually for March 31st. So at that point, I was told 12 hours. Nothing changed. And also for the record, I haven't received any information for my FOIA request. So it's out there that I'm costing the city money because I'm asking for all this information. I've received nothing. So I haven't really cost anyone anything. Thank you.
Anyone else? For public comment. Now we're going to, that was public
No,
comment.
there's no one with their hands raised for public comment.
Okay. So I have a comment, and it's where, again, to reiterate what I said earlier about being offended, because as I sat here and I really thought about all the things that I've been accused of one, charging the city for when I asked to get us some pictures, just so we had some continuity in the way the pictures were. Also conflicts of interest, because I interact with people, not just a certain group of people, but I interact with numerous people. I've been accused of getting my street paved, where taking my position and getting benefits from that for the street paved. And I just wanted to say that it's really disappointing and I'm really curious, and what is it that you're seeking? Because I kind of ask that on a regular basis, because one is that if you have something, say something, and then we can get to the bottom of it. I think that it's too bad that we continuously hold up progress because of what is perceived as what's going on, or some chasing something that is not coming to fruition. I'm just saying all this to say that just this argument of going back and forth for something, and I think that our attorney has said it, I think our city administrators have said it, if there's something specifically that you're looking for that will show wrongdoing or whatever, tell us and we can help with that. This is, to me, it is, when we're saying you're costing the city money, when we have administrators that have to take time out of their schedule or out of their duties throughout the day to prepare something that is chasing something that nobody understands, that is costing the city, because I'm still talking, please, thank you. So when they're working, they're 40 hours and they have 20 hours that's been working on a FOIA request or on something that has nothing to do with moving our city forward, that is costing the residents money. So I'm just saying that I just hope, and today, I guess the reason why I'm saying this, because again, very disappointed in the fact of being accused of, conflict of interest, because there is a business owner who I interact with, and that we almost stalled something because of how someone feels about me. And the one thing about it is you don't have to like me whatsoever, but you will respect me as long as I'm sitting here and as a person. And I think that being respectful to all of us as a council is something that's somewhat lacking. And so that's just what my comments were. And I'm hoping that going forward, we can, again, as we say after every single meeting, that we can move the city forward. We can figure out how we can get our budget together. I mean, we didn't use the cameras before for our study sessions, but that is because of the accommodation of one person.
Excuse
So,
me? I never
yes,
asked study sessions to be recorded.
yes, you did.
No, I didn't.
Okay,
They were recorded on a
go through my
tape
hearing
recorder.
file.
Whatever.
I
Don't
know,
want to get
because
into
as soon as you
this.
can prove it to.
I
what
did
you
not
said-
accuse you of anything. I asked the city attorney for
Well,
information.
that's
all.
accusatory also, Karen. I mean, it's like I've never said anything about the houses in the conflict of interest.
There
that
is
you
no
had
conflict of
when you
interest
were on the
according to the
board.
city attorneys. There was no
I understand
conflict
what
of
the city
interest.
attorney said, but I wanted to be known and I wanted to put it on record. I've never said or never spoke up about it. Actually, I remember I was, I won't say comfort because that's not the right word, but I remember talking to you about it. But if we want to talk about conflict of interest, it's funny how conflict of interest keeps waving and changing for whoever that person is. For you, it's no conflict of interest that got an actual financial gain for being on a board.
I did
And
not.
you,
I
so
absolutely
you
did not. I'll
sell,
share the
you
whole
did not
story
sell,
with you.
you did not sell a house for over $700,000 that the house was not worth.
No, I did
That,
not.
okay,
I'll give you all of the facts because there's a
maybe I'll FOIA it.
lies and stories that have been going around that are not true. And
Well,
it already was.
So,
FOIA.
okay, then, you know, and then I'll be done with it because you put everybody else on blast for the council. You did not sell a house while being on the planning commission to Michigan First to get that land while you were on the planning commission.
It had nothing to do with planning commission.
You did not
disclosed
go to
everything
Michael Polis
and-
to find out
No, I
about
did
that.
not go to
You
Michael
never went to Michael
Polis.
Polis to do that?
Did I approach him about it?
Yeah.
No.
Oh, so he approached you.
Yes, he did.
Okay, so then it's also like you didn't approach the marijuana people to say, tell them that
I
you were.
didn't approach the marijuana people. They approached me,
Okay,
just like they did you.
Okay.
You sat in my living room and told me you had multiple dinners with people and you didn't know you weren't supposed to. So
no, I did, and I've told everyone else, I've told the attorney that. The one thing is that at least I disclosed that I did it.
okay.
I disclosed that I did it.
Oh, okay.
Keyword, disclosed
Uh-huh.
that I did it. That's all I have to say. Is getting tiring to be accused of things and that there's no merit, there's no proof.
Again, I didn't
So
accuse you
I'm
of
just,
anything.
I'm. There's anything else that someone has to say. I'm done. Anything? Nope. Jalen?
No comments.
and
Yes,
Karen.
as a council person, just want to announce that the Women's Club Luncheon is being held on June 8th at Plum Hollow. It's
And
$35
the dues
per
were due
person.
today.
Excuse me?
They were due today. $35
I know.
just afterwards.
Yes, I know that it was due today, but I'm sure
Just letting
that
the
they will
people know
still
also.
take people and you can contact Joy Powell
Okay.
if you're interested. It is open to anyone.
Anything else?
I just had real briefly, I don't think it was included, but I did receive a correspondence from the State Attorney General in response to the charter amendment that I provided. They have approved both the charter amendment language as well as the explanatory caption and have sent it over to the governor's office for review and approval.
Thank you. Thank you. So, city administrator, do you all have anything?
I have nothing. I will only remind everyone that we have, well, first I want to say, thank you, Barb, for coming to the planning party. Really appreciate it. I can't wait for us to get all those hanging desks up. They should be up this week. So thank you very much for joining us at the planting party.
Oh,
Thanks,
this weekend.
Pam. Really appreciated it. And also there is a corridor cleanup this Saturday, June 4th from 9 to 11. We're going to meet out at the pavilion, spend a couple hours focusing on the business district. We always use this first opportunity to really tackle those ditches in along Southfield Road because they've collected all sorts of ick from the winter months. So if you can join us, please join us. There is a sign up, login or registration. I'm sorry, registration information out. I believe it's on the website. It's on our social media, and it's been included in the e-newsletter. It will be again. So join us if you can. We'd really appreciate it. Love to see you out there.
Is it rain or shine?
It is rain or shine. I mean, if it's pouring buckets, I'll let everybody know. But
Nice day.
fingers crossed we get good weather, but it is rain or shine right now. So thank you. And that is all I have. Oh, it's supposed to be 70. It's gonna be beautiful. Perfect cleaning weather. Bring some gloves and wear some warm boots.
Nothing else?
Then I would take a motion for
Adjournment.
Motion to- Second.
So be it. Have a good night.